Hello.
Hello.
Pat Butcher's fucking funeral, eh? I came across an unconscious man in the street the other day. I don't mean I came across him. Wouldn't do that. I'm not left-handed. Would have taken too long. But my first thought was, is that Pigeon Man? I'll tell you about Pigeon Man. There's this bloke in Stoke. I am from Stoke-on-Trent, by the way. Should have probably opened with that bit. Now, the way I like to describe Stoke-on-Trent, in case any of you don't know it, it's a bit like Paris. By that I mean, there's dog shit everywhere in the streets. Now, if any of you don't know Paris, there's dog shit everywhere in the streets. It's a bit like Stoke. But that's a bit unfair on Paris, because it's changed quite a lot of late. Even before Notre Dame burned down, which, it turns out, wasn't insured for acts of God. But what with the yellow vest protests and all the rioting that goes with it, I thought I should update my Stoke-Paris comparison to include these things. But then again, it's only going to be temporary, isn't it? It won't be long before the army are out in the streets, slaughtering all the civilians. Well, Stoke will have to play Millwall at some point. But when the dust settles and all the bodies are cleared away, the dog shit will still be there. Maybe a little charred. Une petite charred. I don't know. I don't speak French. Why would I? So anyway, there's a bloke in Stoke. I actually live in a small village that backs onto a monkey forest in Stoke-on-Trent. And people often ask, aren't you concerned the monkeys might escape? Run amok in your village? Well, no. If anything, I think the monkeys want to be more concerned that the villagers might escape. Run amok in their forest. Because in the early 1970s, there was a location scout for the movie The Wicker Man. And he visited the village. He set up a meeting with all the village elders. And they ate him. No, that's not entirely true. They fucked him first. They've got the protocol. So anyway, there's this bloke in Stoke, Pigeon Man, we call him. Now, rather than do my whole Pigeon Man routine, I was just going to explain to you how I do this routine about the bloke in Stoke by the name of Pigeon Man. But when I wrote it down, the explanation was actually longer than the routine itself. So it wouldn't make any sense, would it? If I'm saving time doing the explanation instead of the actual routine. Especially if you take into account this bit I'm currently describing how the explanation is on the routine. Well, this bit is even longer. The explanation and routine combined. So it'd be ridiculous to even contemplate such a thing. Especially if I'm trying to save time. So I'll just do the actual routine. So there's this bloke in Stoke, Pigeon Man. And he sits on this bench, gets out his bag of seed, and he feeds the birds, and they come and land on him. It's quite a spectacle. But that's not why they call him Pigeon Man. He got the name Pigeon Man when he was caught taking a shit on somebody's car. Which I only found out about the day after I went in my car. Now, that's not actually as bad as it sounds. It wasn't really my car. It was my mate Mickey's. Mickey Two Eyes, we call him. He's got two eyes. Seemed appropriate. Now, I did this Pigeon Man bit in Blackpool once. And as soon as I started, there was a woman in the front row. And she piped up with, "I know Pigeon Man," she says. And I was going to say, well, what are the chances of there being someone from Stoke in Blackpool? but it's an almost certainty if you know the people from Stoke and their holidaying habits. Presumably Rill was shut for the weekend. But it turned out she used to be Pigeon Man's mental health nurse. Obviously not a very good mental health nurse. She called him Pigeon Man for start. Rather than his actual name, which I think might be Old Crippleclaw McGraw. Now the reason I think that might be his name is some kids were shouting it at him across the park, and he seemed to get quite excited by it. But then again, he was stood in a bush masturbating. Might just have been a coincidence. Now whenever I'm in Blackpool, I like to have a go on the old brothels. They're all the way down the promenade. I think that's why they call it the Golden Mile. I might be wrong. Now, one of my earliest memories was at the vet's. I was there with my pet rabbit, Peter. Named him after Peter Rabbit. I was quite precocious as a child. But the reason this memory stuck is that the vet kept calling my mother by a maiden name rather than a married name, Mrs. Tomlinson. Well, this cropped up in conversation at work recently, so we were talking about porn star names. I presume you all know this, where you take the name of your first pet, your mother's maiden name, that makes up your porn star name. So when it came to my turn, I retold this story about going to the vet's with my pet rabbit, Peter, and the vet kept calling my mother by a maiden name, Stringfellow. It's a joke, obviously. Be a ridiculous name for a porn star, wouldn't it? Peter Stringfellow. Yeah, my mother's maiden name wasn't Stringfellow. Peter Stringfellow. It was Sutcliffe. I got into a fight the other day. Oh no, that's not right. It's Fiat. I got into a Fiat the other day. Now Ed Balls, his wife, I don't know if you remember the ex-Labour MP Ed Balls. Well, his wife is the current Labour MP, Yvette Cooper. But she pronounces her name Yvette, which I think answers the question why she didn't take her husband's surname. Well, I reckon Ed Balls would have made a great deputy leader of the Labour Party, but only if Sandwell councillor Keith Alcott was elected as a leader. Who wouldn't vote for Alcott and Balls? That's what you're going to get anyway. But when I heard there was a massive split in the Labour Party, I thought Katie Hopkins had joined them. She's a massive split. I was accused of sexism with that joke once, because Katie Hopkins is a woman. Sort of. Well, I'm not sexist. I'll explain why. Well, I can't be sexist, because some of my ex-wives were women. I don't know if you've seen Katie Hopkins recently, but she seems to be transforming into Julian Clary. I mean, no offence to Julian Clary. I'm not homophobic. Some of my ex-wives were gay. Now, the reason that Margaret Thatcher was cremated, this is what I heard, right? She had a state funeral, which normally ends with a burial. But they didn't want to risk all the piss on the grave. They were anticipating quite a lot of piss on the grave. But they didn't want to risk it seeping into the coffin, in case it reanimated the corpse. I'm sure the last thing anyone would want is a Thatcher piss zombie wreaking havoc on the world. I mean, first time was bad enough. So anyway, I got into a Fiat with a Geordie. Kicked the living shit out of me. Just for getting in his car. I went past Wetherspoons earlier in Stoke. I don't know if this is the same for all Wetherspoons, or just the one in Stoke. But whenever I go past, there's always what I can only describe as Jeremy Kyle Street Theatre going on. See, when I went past earlier, there was a woman in a tracksuit. It's a horrible orange colour it was. The tracksuit was purple. But she was screaming across the street at this other woman, things like bitch, slag, whore, what's for tea, mum, that sort of thing. Here's something that's been bothering me for quite a while now. When did Punch, from Punch and Judy, get replaced by Richard? Smack, crack, poppers. That's what Pete Doherty has on his Rice Krispies. Paul McCartney says that he quite often writes songs sitting on the toilet. I wonder if he knows if it's going to be a number one. And I was at a pool party last summer, this was. And who walked in but Michael Barrymore? I could have died. Sick bastards. There's this woman at work, right? She looks a bit like Vanessa Falls, if you squint. Which you do when you ejaculate. I don't work there anymore. But there's this other woman. I've been seeing her a couple of times, and I think she might be a keeper. Now, it's customary in this situation for a comedian to do a goalkeeping pun. Something like, I think she's a keeper. She stands in front of a net. The net's her mate. Fair enough. Okay. I think she's a keeper. She's got a seaman moustache. You remember David Seaman? Well, I refuse to do such a thing. But I do think she might be a keeper. I just hope she doesn't dribble out the box too much. Always makes me nervous, especially when I'm spectating. Why do hedgehogs always stop in the middle of the road? Pricks. Now, I was on the Quantum Physics Channel's version of Deal or No Deal. I won a dead cat. Well, on the repeat, I won a live cat. Now, obviously, if you didn't get the first bit, you won't get the second bit. But it's a Schrodinger's cat reference. But I don't really expect there to be that many theoretical physicists here at bushfest. But believe me, in a parallel universe, you're all pissing yourselves at that. Maybe not Billy, but snails are hermaphrodites. Excuse me. So, if you are what you eat, and French people eat snails, and snails are hermaphrodites, then French people can go and fuck themselves. I don't make the rules. And that's not racist, anyway. I can't be racist. One of my ex-wives was French. Well, she can certainly go and fuck herself. Now, I'd like to tell you about a gig I once did at a conference for young farmers. It wasn't even a comedy gig. I was booked to do a speech. So a few days beforehand, I was trying to think of a suitable subject to discuss. And I remembered that my younger brother, he once castrated a sheep with a pair of spoons. It wasn't deliberate. He was trying to play the spoons. But he was really quite clumsy when he was young. It was all thumbs. Or on this particular occasion, thumbs and testicles. So I decided castration would be a suitable subject. So I started researching the subject. And I was reading this magazine. I didn't read the whole magazine, just a bit about castration. The snippet. But one thing I found out So shepherds used to bite off sheep's testicles. And not just for a laugh either. It was a genuine method of castration. Because the saliva would sterilise the wound, so they used it in emergencies. Well, Adolf Hitler's mother was from a family of shepherds. German shepherds. But that might explain Adolf's testicle situation. Because she also used to play with spoons. Although she only had one spoon. Something with rationing. My favourite castrated animal. I assume everybody has a favourite. Well, my favourite castrated animal is a castrated goat. Because the name they give to a castrated goat is a wether. W-E-T-H-E-R. Honestly, you can look that up. So if my younger brother had accidentally castrated a goat instead of a sheep, would he have been the first person who ever used wether spoons? These are the questions we need asking. Like, do you know the plural of cervix? It's services. Well, I came here on the motorway tonight. Gives a whole new meaning to the Watford Gap. So anyway, the day of this conference for young farmers arrived. And I was stood at the side of the stage waiting to go on. It was quite a high stage, but low enough to tempt me to climb up, which was a mistake. So as the MC called me on, I started to climb up. I felt a burning pain at the back of my leg, pulled a muscle. So I was limping towards the microphone, and it occurred to me, they shoot horses for this, don't they? I'm sure I saw a guy in the back of the room reaching for a shotgun. Turned out it was just his mate stood next to him. But the fear of this, coupled with the agony, my mind went blank. I forgot everything I'd learned about castration. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to tell them what I've done here. So I was standing there in front of all these young farmers, and I said to them, I've just fucked my car. Well, I've got a standing ovation for it. Can't argue. Anyway, that's my time done. Thank you for listening.
Dave!